What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I actually wanted to discuss something in the video today, and you probably saw the title and you're like, wait, what? No, but seriously though, guys, I have to admit, I actually stand by the title of it, but hear me out though. The reason why I do say we actually need to stop asking for cars now, I do understand like 95% of the cars we had over the past entire year in the game is pretty much going to be Street Tier 1 and Tier 2 and also Hypercars, whereas every single other class basically got, oh well, nothing. I think we actually got one off-road vehicle last year, which I think was the Jeep, maybe two of them. We had the Rubicon 392 when the game came out, then we got the Gladiator, I believe, so obviously there's not going to be that many there, but besides all of that though, the reason why I did want to talk about this is I do truly believe it's probably going to be an issue. Now, I actually did make a video about this a long time ago going, well, we're going to have over 750 cars in the game, but, and there's also going to be a big but there, what do you actually do with them with at least most of the classes anyway? We all do know many of the races are pretty much going to be tied to basically every single category, so in a way you're probably not going to have a huge variety of actual races for certain classes. Now, if we actually look at it that way though, and we keep getting a lot of Street Tier 2 hypercars, we all do know the other classes are basically never going to get cars for that matter, but also they are probably never going to get races either. This is something I have been thinking about because I'm looking at Maui going, yo, look at all the roads. Like, I really do enjoy the map. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so well designed. There are so many different roads everywhere, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, I understand players want to get more cars and stuff on the new map, or at least in the game itself, because we all do know every racing game is always going to have requests and stuff like that. Like, I understand it, but every time I go on Twitter or, X, I go on Instagram, I go on YouTube, everybody is asking for more cars. And the second I actually see people asking for more cars, you guys know what I actually do? I look and go, well, that's cool, but can we actually get more events though? Like, I understand players want to have more cars, but look, guys, we have 750 plus cars, or vehicles, cars, tomato, tomato. I know there's trucks and bikes and all that. But regardless, though, that's a lot of vehicles in a single game. I do understand the other game that probably has lots of cars is going to be Forza, but if we look at something like Need for Speed and stuff, there's never been 700 cars in Need for Speed, though. Now, if we're actually going to have tons of content on top of all of the cars, then yeah, let's do it. But when I keep looking, I see people wanting certain cars being added, like, if I can admit one car I would love to see is a lovely SVJ, but again, that's a hypercar, though. Personally, I'd actually rather not get more cars, and I'd rather have more events being added. Now, I do understand I'm probably going to get intact and stuff on this because we all know, well, it is a racing game. You can never have enough cars. I get it. I also love having new cars being added. I mean, heck, in this season, we're probably going to easily get another Elite Bundle, which is probably going to have hypercars and street cars in it. I called it. What are the odds, guys, that the actual season pass is going to have off-road vehicles in it? I bet you it's going to be incredibly low, man. We might actually get one or two off-road vehicles. People want rallycross cars, but the issue I see with that is rallycross cars are cool. Rally raid vehicles, I want them. I would love seeing a Raptor R, but at the same time, though, can we actually get more real off-road races and rallycross races? I'd rather have more races and no cars being added. Like, I know that sounds insane. I know that people are going to be like, nah, bro, we need, like, this car. I get it. And again, I would love to see a lot of cars being added, and there have added a lot of them. But at the same time, though, can we also agree that having more races on top of that, well, that would be pretty dope, wouldn't it? Like, imagine having a lot more actual races for something like racing, for example, or even legitimate track races for Alpha GP. Instead, we're actually going to be using the exact same cars on every single race, which I would say, I get it, I think there's like 170 races in Motorfest or something, so there is going to be a good amount, but also in the Crew 2, there's 360 plus events, and every single class has their own races. You guys see where I'm going with this? Imagine having a bunch of races that match every single category. That way you can actually mess around with different cars and stuff. Like, wouldn't that be dope? Again, I understand you can never have enough cars in a racing game, but at the same time, there's also going to be a stance to where you can also not have enough content to keep players engaged. And I've been noticing, like, yeah, driving around Maui is dope. I've been doing the rivals and all that. But the issue with the rivals is it's only Street Tier 2 and Hypercars. I'm actually going to be making a video on that as well because they could easily expand it. A lot of players actually want to drive Rallycross, Rally Raid, even something like Alpha, maybe racing, maybe dirt bikes, maybe monster trucks. But at the moment, though, there is not a lot of races to go around in those said things, which I do understand players want them, including myself. But instead, though, we are going to be getting more cars being added and not a lot of things to do with them. Again, I did actually discuss this in an older video, and I feel like players agreed with it. Like, yo, bro, we got 700 cars. That's so dope. Now, here's a question, though. What do you actually do with most of them? Again, there's not going to be a lot of races that match those said classes, so we're probably always going to be using Street Tier 2 and Hypercars. I would say about a good 80% of the time, most of the summits have to do with Street Tier 1, Tier 2, and Hypercars. Did you guys notice the entire Rivals update was Street Tier 1, Tier 2, and Hypercars? Like, I understand it, but I also understand at the same time, though, Motorfest has an image of, yo, we have all these dope cars and all these different classes and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, though, we're only really getting a few classes of vehicles being added, and even on top of that, many of the races being added don't match everything else. Now, the funny part about this, though, is, guys, I'm not saying they should, like, never add more cars to the game, but can't we all agree, though, that everybody's like, yo, I would really love to have, like, more PvP events. Can you all change around the summit? Can you all, like, maybe change around the main stage a bit? But instead, we're actually getting tons of new vehicles. Like, I do understand it. Everybody, again, wants new cars, but every time I see it, though, I'm like, oh, man, look, more cars. Like, it's dope, but right after I actually get them, I'm like, okay, so, what do we do with them now? You know what I'm saying, man? Like, I don't know. It's just something I have been thinking about a bit. I know I did talk about this in older videos, but seeing this in year 2, though, because I know this game has been out over a year now, which is insane to me, and yet a lot of the things are still lacking a bit when it does come to the overall content, which, you know, I do feel like a lot of players are going to agree with, at least when it does come to something like the other classes and stuff like that getting more love and all that, which I did make videos on, and I really do hope a lot of this stuff does get seen. That way they will end up implementing it, hopefully in the coming months and not in something like the year 3, like the end of it. I actually get a bit worried, guys, because I do know we get playlists and all that, but at the moment, I'm going to guess and say right now it's going to be 1 to 2 playlists, if that, every single season that does come out. The thing is, though, are those 1 to 2 playlists really going to have enough races in them to really go after every single class to truly mix it up? It is something I keep asking myself, and at this point, I don't really know if it will work. The thing is, everybody wants hypercars and all that, which I get, they're quick. I know a lot of players love Street Tier 2 vehicles. I get it, I do too, but at the end of the day, though, if we keep getting the same events like those actual classes are getting them, I feel like most of the other classes are never going to truly get what they actually deserve. Do let me know what y'all think about this in the comments below. I also want to mention, once again, I'm not saying we should never have new cars because we're always going to get new vehicles, but I would say having something like new events being on top of the new vehicles, like having smaller playlists being added to add on different races to other classes would be so dang dope. And that's the biggest thing I'm asking for, man. Like, everybody wants more vehicles, I get it. I also would like more cars, but on top of it, I would personally love more races. That way we can actually use these said vehicles that we have, which again is over 700 of them, in different races that really do mix up the overall variety. Do let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And also, speaking of that, though, there is one last thing I did want to end this video off with, which was going to be a question. What are your overall thoughts on the content direction of Motorfest?